Welcome to this session. This session I put in the diary a long time ago. I had no idea what was going to be happening with it. And it has taken some very unexpected turns. But as I said, there are quite a few people who are completely new to me who've registered for this. So I'm just going to give a little bit of background to try and explain who I am, if you've never come across me before, and what I do. So I think the best way to, I call myself a business mentor, but I'm not really interested in labels. I am more interested in the way in which we approach business. So my approach is to work with pure energies, because then we can work in a way that doesn't involve all of the interference that you get from everything around us all the time. And that is directing us down paths that mean we're not really following what we are best and most genius at creating. So there's an awful lot of pressure with all of these with what everybody else is doing, what we've been primed to do. So my work is really focused on coming back to what is the core energy of what we're doing, and how do you work with that? How do you translate that? And how do you translate that without reference to anything else that is already in your repertoire, because your genius is outside of that. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And it's a very holistic approach. So I go from the very beginning and inception of a business all the way through to its maturity, following the stages. Now I've been doing the videos and written information on the energetic themes for the year ahead for, I think this is 4, 5 years. I don't know. I actually can't remember. I've got no concept of timelines either. Sorry, dog's just nesting. I've got no concept of timelines. I can't remember how many times I've been doing it, but I've been doing it for quite a while. And I've also do the quarterly updates. Now, what was really interesting was when I sat down last year to do the energetic themes for this year, I sat down and I couldn't remember how to do it. I had absolutely no recollection of how the process went, which was really weird. And I have found it very difficult this year to do the quarterly updates. I've been really late doing them. It's not that I can't access the information, but it's been really weird. And I've been feeling that the time of me doing the things the old way had definitely come to a halt. So I was like, well, what does that mean for 2023? And the answer I got was not the answer I was expecting, needless to say. So there is a theme to the year that isn't a theme. It's more of a sort of like a motto for the year, really. And that is to choose the journey, not the destination. And that kept coming up all the way through as I was going through this, because what came through, and it took me quite some time to work through this, was that we aren't going to be moving today. We are not moving through one timeline collectively. We are moving through into multiple timelines. We're going to be moving into a space where loads of people are on different timelines, having completely different experiences, but you're still going to be able to see what's going on with everybody else and not understanding what the hell's going on with them, because they're having a very different experience. And I think we've been we've had that building over the last few years. So this portal today is our opportunity to choose our timeline. So what's coming out of this is I'm going to take you through an exercise to shape your timeline. So to make those choices. Now, it's very important to say that this isn't we make the decision today and then it's done. That's not how it's going to work. This is a journey. That word just came up again and again. It's a journey into learning how to be in this timeline that you choose. So you get to choose your timeline, and then you need to work on what it is that means that you can hold in that timeline. So when I wrote this down, I was scribbling notes in my book, and I had probably 5 or 6 sides of my notebook, and I thought, well, that's not going to translate to very much content. And then I ended up typing it up, and I have got all of this. So I'm going to pick and choose what I take you through today. It's all kind of quite different. So we're, instead of thinking about energetic themes and trends, we're going to be looking at opportunities, because shaping your timeline is an opportunity. What I think is going to frame a lot of what we're doing as individuals, but also what we're doing in business, and that's obviously the focus of this, is that looking out, we're going to see a lot of people being very confused. There's going to be like this disconnection buildings, like, well, this isn't the life that I've had, and it's not the life that I want, and this isn't the person, I don't want to be that person anymore, I want to change, but I don't know how, and I don't know what to, I don't know how to move through this process. So, and as I said, there's going to be lots of people on different timelines having very different experiences, and that's going to create a lot of confusion. So people are going to be very confused. So from a business point of view, when your job, guarantee it, you all got some degree of helping people, guide them through to their truth, their path. So one of the most important things for your business is going to be the visibility of your confidence, your assurance that you're on the right path. So if you can learn to hold that energy and project that energy, then it's going to act as like this huge, great big beacon to people who are just scanning, just going, what the hell? I don't know which way to turn. I don't know what to do. And you're just going very calmly, very quietly, going, this is the way. And people are going to be able to pick up on that, even though they might be in a space of desperation. Now, one thing I will say from a business point of view is that it would not surprise me if there was a rise initially, a rise of people who were selling instant fixes, because people are going to be in a space of desperation. So there's going to be a response to that. People will be desperate for an answer as the confusion builds. And I think the confusion is going to build between today and the 1st of January. That's going to be one of the peak areas of that confusion for people. So there might be that coming up, but that's only going to be a flash in the pan, and people are going to be looking for something much deeper. We are on numerology terms, we're moving into a 7-year. Now, a 7-year is a year for very deep inquiry. Interesting enough, when I was writing my notes, I wrote inquiry and enquiry. So that will mean nothing if you're outside of the UK, because that's quite a subtle difference in how we use inquiry and enquiry. But there's 2 levels of this, because a 7-year, that's the other thing I wrote about a 7-year, is a 7-year isn't about turning within, it's about going within, as in you're going right into your roots. And that's the depth about it, the difference between en and inquiry, because you're talking about a broad sort of contextual sort of inquiry, as well as a deep personal inquiry. So there's going to be a need for a lot of deep spaces where people can really go to answer 3 main questions. And I think I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read this, and they are on about page 10 of my notes. There are going to be a certain number of questions that people are really going to get to, and I could just right. Just wanted to make sure I got the right ones. So, who am I? Which is, what am I creating? But very importantly, how can I participate in deconstructing what has not been serving me or the broader collective? So those are questions that are going to dominate. So they're going to need spaces for those. So it's kind of quite, it's going to be a really interesting year, because there's not going to be, although we're all going to be in the same prevailing energies, those energies are going to play out differently according to what we have chosen as our timeline and how we're choosing to engage in life, which is, part and parcel of this sort of crazy journey that we're all found ourselves on recently. So as I said, it's about opportunities. It's about pursuing what is coming up for you in your particular place, but very importantly, turning to yourself as the expert and finding that self-leadership, so that you are taking you're self-referencing, you're self-supporting. It doesn't mean that you are on your own and you don't have support, but that you are developing your trust. That's going to be so important in the business context, because the more that you trust yourself, the more you can step off onto your path rather than onto the path that's actually been predetermined for you. And it's much more difficult than you think it is to break the programming and the patterning and all the conditioning that has come into place around business. You can peel back layers and layers and layers of it, and you'll still find something niggling away that is impacting how you function in business. So self-leadership is a really big skill to develop in the year ahead. And obviously self-leadership is rooted in self-trust. Self-trust is rooted in connection to your purpose, your mission. The deeper that level of connection, the more you're going to be anchored into the way you need to move forward. So I think the other thing that came through that I think is important to put into context is how timelines are going to function. And that it's not like we choose one and that's it, it's fixed, it's mutable. You can get to a new timeline and you can go, oh, okay, now that I'm here, I can see further. So you're going to be able to move between timelines very fluidly, changing your path and changing your outcome. But the main thing is going to be about learning to have the capacity to operate in that timeline, because it's going to be quite demanding. Now, the more energy we move through our bodies, the more energy we move through our businesses, the more their capacity has to be built up. And I've certainly this last couple of years, I think I've probably seen a lot of people sort of like overloading their nervous systems by doing too much energy work. The same is true with your business. If you put too much energy through your business too quickly, it can't function. It burns out because it hasn't got the capacity to manage it. So we need to be working on that. This journey, coming back to that word again, is about learning to be in that timeline. So it's not going to be a flawless process. It is going to be a process where we are learning the energetic skills, the personal skills, the self-management, self-leadership skills that we need to build our capacity to regulate our nervous system. All of those things is going to be really important this year. So yeah, coming back to that sliding timelines, some people are going to choose to make a very small change. Some people are going to dig their heels in and refuse to make any changes. Some people are going to go just move through it really quickly. Everyone's going to have a different scale of experience in this year. So that means that we are, from a business point of view, that actually means there's more opportunities to connect with people and reach people without actually necessarily having to overcomplicate our businesses. I'm not a fan of overcomplicating businesses. So we are choosing what to embrace. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what does it mean to shape your timeline, because I think it's kind of quite different to how we might have set intentions for the year ahead, or set a word for the year ahead, or done a vision board for the year ahead. And that, while that was very much taking us into the energy of what we wanted to create, this is more about not the material outcomes of what we want to create, but the journey and the experience that we want to be on. So it's how do we embrace things? How do we engage with life? These are the choices that we need to be making, and they are based on our values. They are based on our mission and our purpose, our real sense of self and our sense of identity and sense of where we're going. So the way in which we're functioning is going to be dependent upon those things. So we, do you know, I've completely lost my thread now. Timelines. So the timelines are going to be more fluid. Oh, just right. Yes, sorry, I've regained my thread. And this is, so it's about creating the experience that you want to have when you're moving through the timeline that you're choosing in that moment. And that, as I said, becomes down to who you are, your sense of self, your sense of identity, your values, you know, what you want to create. I have put I've got information to put together on the arcs of energy. I'm just going to see if I don't know whether my webcam will actually focus on that properly. Okay, so that little diagram with all the spiral and the dots is how I read energy. And between those, so it comes out on the spiral, you've actually got 4 quadrants of energy, earth, air, fire, and water. And they're going to offer different opportunities in the year ahead. That's quite visual and complicated to present now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that up on, well, I might do a PDF that I attach to the email I'm going to send out to everybody to with the replay, but I also will put it onto my Telegram group so that you can actually come in and ask any questions that you want to with it. But that'll give you some idea of where we're going. So it's quite interesting going through that. One thing I will just say, and I will just touch on it very briefly, is that we currently work with 4 elements, 5 if you're in Chinese medicine, but that for the Chinese elements are slightly different, and I don't work that way. But we tend to work with 4. There are, of course, actually 5, but we are about to move into a space where we realize that we're working with a much broader range of elements. So when doing this year, I actually work with 60. But 12, I think, is going to be the more common thing that comes into understanding over the year ahead. So what I'm going to do now is just talk you through a little bit about the business opportunities and development needs that you have over the coming year, and then we're going to go into this exercise to shape your timeline. So opportunities for business. I think then we go to, let's do business development first. Okay, so in terms of business development needs, your ability to hold the energy of your business, to hold the energy of transformation that moves through you, and to be able to extend that in a very calm way is going to be critical, because people are going to be very confused. And that's something that you need to learn to do. You need to build that core muscle, if you like, to be able to hold that energy consistently. It is a journey. We all have our ups and downs with it. And you have times when you just go, it's too much to hold. And there are other times when it just feels really, really easy. But that's your journey as a leader that is coming up in the year ahead. Because what's going to be coming up in terms of the opportunities is, as I said, there's going to be this lack of direction, this confusion, this disconnection with with where life has taken you so far and where you're going with it. There's going to be that call for you to have the presence, the energetic integrity, the ability to extend your energy in wholeness out into to people. So when people are like, they haven't made the decision yet, they haven't decided which timeline to go down, you've already made that decision. So you're there with that call, if you like, to say, this is the way to go. And it's the quiet confidence that you're on the right path that is going to be the thing that is going to be the beacon for people. So it's not shouting. I think we have had this thing in business for so long now where it's like he who shouts loudest wins. And it's like, that's fried our systems. We've just made us zone out. That's not what people are going to be looking for. They are going to be actually far more connected to their sense of knowing than they realize in making their decisions. And so, just be really open to that. So be building your presence, building your ability to stay in that energy. As I said, in terms of opportunities, deep spaces, that can look very different. It doesn't have to be a 12-month one-to-one situation. It can look very different. It's about having the depth of space and the safety of space. And people will be looking for safe spaces because they will be deconstructing themselves. So without that, they won't be able to do that. It's going to be manifesting as well, not just in a sort of like an existential level, although I think we might look back in time at this coming year as an existential crisis year. It's not always going to be about sort of like the spiritual side of things. It might well be about the need to develop physical changes, or supporting your body, supporting your mind, supporting you in many different ways. And I mean, there are so many different interpretations of this. Something I would say is that because it's a learning journey, being on this new timeline is a learning journey. It's like setting yourself a challenge is kind of a good thing to do, to learn the skills to be in a different timeline. So to give you a completely random example, and it doesn't have to be anything to do with business, I've just set myself the goal that in the next year, I want to be able to, giving myself plenty of time to do this, I want to be able to learn to do a pistol squat, because I've realized that I've actually lost a lot of muscle around my legs and my hips, and I need to change that. So that was my goal. Now, I think that will help me in my business, even though it's got nothing to do with business on the face of it. And I think that's something we're going to learn, that it doesn't, because we're so focused on our businesses, that it might not be that in order to make a difference in our business that we have to do something different in our business. It could be that instead of you having to post on social media, you actually need to go grow beetroot in your garden. And honestly, I think that's the level of change that we're going to be starting to understand, because we're turning to ourselves as our experts and going, no, that's what needs to happen. So it's going to be kind of a bit random. So your trust in yourself is going to be such a big signal to other people about what it is that what they need to do on how you can support them through that. So definitely going below the surface. It's going to be a year when we remember how to work with energy, because it's a remembrance. It's not a new skill. I do think that January is going to be a really good time to start some new things, because that 11 today through to the 1st of January, I think there's going to be a lot of confusion. People are going to be starting to, I need something, I don't know what it is. But so I think January would be a really good time to start stuff, but I think it needs the lead in from now all the way through to January, because people are going to be getting increasingly aware of their disconnects. One thing I will say from a marketing point of view is those that are digging their heels in and don't want to move, do not waste your time trying to persuade them. They need to make the decision for themselves, and there is no persuading them without that willingness to make the decision themselves. So speak to the people that you know are ready to change. They're on the cusp of it. They're thinking certain things, they're feeling certain things, they are ready to make a change. Don't bother speaking to anybody before that, because it's a time when you've got to be all in. And if you're not all in, you're going to slide back. And you don't want people sliding back, because you want to be on the timeline that you're on. Your business needs to be on a particular timeline. So there's no point in you working with people who are going to pull your energy back. You want to be working with people who are going to take your energy forward. Because it's a 7-year, the single most scary thing is going to rear its head. And the single most scary thing in any business, particularly if you work with people who have businesses, is the pause. You can't go within without consciously taking a breath and pausing. And we are not where my nose is going now. That just tells me that always goes when it's an important message. How whether you're in business or not, you can't make a change without the pause. But we are so sorry, it's going to distract me now. We are so conditioned to be productive, to be doing things, that pause is so hard for us all to take. The ability to sit in stillness, and the still just doesn't, I say sit in stillness, but actually stillness is not necessarily a state of being static. Stillness is a state of being able to hear, to be able to receive, all those sorts of things. So the pause is going to raise its head, and people are not going to know how to navigate it. So the key questions, let me go back to the key questions for the year ahead. Who am I? What am I here for? What's my sense of identity? That's going to be changing. I'm actually going to be doing something very soon. I've been kind of procrastinating on it. I'm going to do something very soon on building up your electromagnetic field, because that's going to be really important, because it's about your sense of your multiple layers of identity as a human being and as a collective, all the rest of it. So who am I? What am I here for? How can I participate in deconstructing what hasn't been serving me or the collective? And also, how can I take my control back of creating what I desire? So those are the 4 questions that I think are in one shape or form are going to dominate the year ahead. As I said, we'd probably turn around in 12 months' time and just go, it was like a mass dark night of the soul, but we're out the other end of it. So hopefully. So if your business in one shape or form is helping people to anchor more of their soul truth into their body, into their life, into their action, whether that's through services or products or whatever it is, there's so many ways that this can be done. You are going to be the guides for everybody through the next few years. So connect deeply to the message that you need to share around this, and begin to give it form and life that exceeds where it's got to now. Expand it, take the message out further, connect it to the collective experiences that are coming in. You're all doubtless highly empathic. You're going to be able to read the collective very easily, so you can tune what you're saying to where it's at. So I'm going to take you now through the shaping your timeline exercise. So as I said, this is not determined by the physical manifestations, but by the way that you choose to journey through the thing. We're all getting to the same destination ultimately. It's how we get there that matters now. Okay. So we're not going to be focusing on material outcomes. We are talking about the quality of the experience, the quality of the expansion that you're going to feel. So it's an opportunity to choose how you want to evolve and how to connect with the world through your lens. So to give you a very practical example, let's say you have previously set yourself a goal to attain a certain income target in your business. Who hasn't? We all have, because that's what we do. And it's a figure that makes it possible for you to live your life on your terms. But that's created a codependency between you and your business. So, and it's created a conditionality of everything that you do in your business. So then your business isn't able to be an experience in the way that it needs to be. So we want to break the codependency so that you can find the freedom for both you and your business to thrive. Now, that's a subtle shift that we need to make. So instead of, let's say, instead of saying that I don't want to be in a situation anymore where I'm not sure whether or not I can pay my bills, to the timeline choice that you make is that I am always able to pay my bills. always able to pay my bills. So there's a subtle shift of focus, because and it's the same with our businesses, because anything that is based on, oh, hang on, how do I explain this? Anything that is based on a conditionality is in some way, shape or form impacting the way in which the energy can be expressed. And it gets into a terrible muddle when we have a set target that we attach to it. That doesn't mean that I think that set targets aren't really important. They are, but it's breaking the codependency between the expectation of your business doing this and you doing that. So you choose, when you're shaping your timeline, you are choosing to engage with life from a certain perspective. That's what it is. So it's not a one and done. You don't set the intention and then, wow, it's happened. We have to learn how to become that. That's what we're doing. So that's what the purpose of the shaping of the timeline is. So don't think about the material outcomes, the physical manifestations that are going to come out of this, but the quality of the experience. How do I want to be? Who do I want to be? How do I want to experience this as I move through life? Because as you do that, then it's going to become slightly easier to build those muscles. So we're learning, we're developing the tools. It's not one and done. So bearing all of that in mind, take a deep breath. And if you feel like closing your eyes, you can, you don't have to, but begin to breathe yourself into a little bit of stillness using your breath to anchor your body into quietness. Just relaxing, trusting your intuition, and being open to what comes from within. So I'm now going to ask you a question, and I want you to trust what comes through. What are you creating through your business in 2023? What you are creating is beyond form. Go to the emotions that shape the experience. Feel the movement. I told you it was going to happen. Feel the movement of that. Feel the sound of it, the imagery, the color of it. This is the frequency of what you are creating. This is the energy that you are adding to the collective. You are changing the energy that everybody experiences by this energy that you are bringing into play through your business. You are retuning the collective through your business. So this is the energy that you're moving into. And just for a second, turn your attention to where you've come from. Can you feel the difference between the frequency, the way you've come from, and the one you're moving into? I can see an awful lot of head and neck rolling. So can I suggest that if you're finding that difficult, that you just do some breathing on your throat area just to expand it? So if you can feel the contrast between where you've come from and where you're going to, you might be able to begin to sense what's needed to learn to be in this new frequency and what you need to release because it's no longer with you. It's no longer supporting you. You're looking to recalibrate yourself so that you can travel through this frequency easily. It might also begin to communicate with you the personal challenges that might come up. 2 secs, I'm going to shut my door. So the personal challenges that you might face and how you need to address them. Do you know who you need to become to thrive in this new timeline? What support you're going to need and how you're going to resource yourself. And feeling into this energy, this is what you're creating through your business. So how does your business need to recalibrate? Because it's likely to be designed around models of lack. If you actually stop to look at how we create businesses, that are modeled around lack. And lack is not going to be in any one of the timelines that you pick. So there'll be some big changes that need to happen. So how can you support your business transformation? Now I'm going to take those questions because I know there's a lot of questions that I've just put there, and I will send those out with the replay as well. So you've got access to those to perhaps journal on and think about. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of the journey. And it's like, what are you creating? Now, this process that I've shown you, to repeat it, but do it for you. You know, just say, you know, what am I creating with my life in this year? What am I creating with my day? You know, you can do the same process. It's a way of inquiring of the frequency, what's happening and where you're going. So I will send out the replay for this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open up for questions, but I'm going to switch the recording off before I do that, so people are able to talk freely. But I will send out the recording, and when I do, I will have access to, I will make sure you've got details of the Telegram group, so you can come in and talk to that. And that for those of you who are new, make sure that you've also got details of how to sign up to my mailing list to get my weekly email, if that's something that you would like to do. So I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everybody who registered. And I will make sure that I am here to answer any questions that you have as well. After, if you're watching the replay, please do feel free to get in touch with me. So I'm going to switch the recording off now and open it up to any Q&A. And thank you very much, and a wonderful 2023 to everybody.